Welcome back to Monetization Mastery. Over the past few weeks I've had a number of requests and messages on my Facebook page, as well as groups and chat areas I've been in talking about limited originality of content on Facebook in-stream ad videos. So what I thought I'd do is create a video today just to debunk some of those myths and hopefully help some of you to get monetization back on your pages and to help people avoid getting caught by that violation in the future. So before we go any further, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me and helps my channel to grow and prosper on YouTube. Select the notification bell and select the all option so you don't miss any updates from any videos or content that I do. Smash the like button and of course leave me a comment below as always, and maybe in this one tell me about some of your limited originality of content issues and I'll see if I can shed some light on them. In this video specifically we're going to talk about what the policy is, how it kind of comes into force, and we're also going to talk about ways that you can fight against it to make sure that you're monetizing your content to the maximum that is available. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So first up, let's start with limited originality content and what it actually is. So it's a Facebook page violation. So if you have a Facebook page and you use videos and you want to monetize those videos, you may have come or run into this in the past, this flag. And that's because Facebook are trying to clamp down on repeat use of videos. They're trying to clamp down on things like copyright and people reusing other people's content and them getting no value for it. And Facebook are striving to have a platform with really good videos and original content that doesn't exist anywhere else. So their drive is to push for that at the moment. So what will happen is typically if you violated this clause, you will get a violation on your page, which means you can't monetize content, and it could be applied at a video level and it could also be applied at a page level. If you're the unfortunate recipient of this, it can be quite frustrating, particularly to monetize other videos on that page, because you may have the whole page turned off and as a result you may never get that back either, depending on how many times you've offended. And this comes because Facebook have a stance on what originality is. So they talk about original content here in this particular article. They're talking about things like new episodes, clips or trailers of a show by producers of talent or network. They talk about video logs of creators, content that's filmed by the publisher themselves, or maybe news coverage or giving a review on something like that. So there's very much a focus on, if you're not the original creator of your video, you're likely to at some point get stamped with limited originality. Now that's not necessarily true, because they also talk about in this article, in this help page, meaningfully enhanced content. This is where it catches a lot of people out. So there is a notion that you can use other people's footage in videos that you have to help I suppose monetize them. If you're not a creator or you're camera shy or something like that, you may not want to appear on camera, so you may want to use someone else's content to enhance your channel, and it may be a perfectly relevant use case. What often happens though is, in the past, people have just literally taken videos that someone else has uploaded, re-uploaded them and earned money on them, and that's what's caused this clause to exist. So when it comes to enhanced content, Facebook gives some examples. And I suppose that the running theme through this is that if the video itself has a different purpose once you've edited it, and that you would watch it for a different reason, then that's probably original. If it doesn't do that, you probably haven't enhanced it enough to make that happen, in all honesty. So it talks here about a persona appears throughout and adds new information, such as appearing in a video overlay, to add commentary, or this text or voice narration appearing throughout, which adds new information, maybe stats, and it talks about here using sports pages and with maybe showing player performance and other bits of analysis that might be useful. And this consistent editing approach, so it's not just slapdash, throw a few video clips together and get away with it. The whole feel of the video should be that it's all part of one. It isn't just you trying to stitch a few videos together to make a few quid. So that's what limited originality is all about. It's about creating original content. And obviously if you're a video creator yourself, it's a lot easier to do this because you should naturally be original already and you're very unlikely to fall foul of limited originality of content violation. But if you are using other people's clips or licensed footage, stock footage, anything like that, you just have to make sure that you're editing it to a high standard. And if you don't, ultimately you will get barred with limited originality. So that's the brunt of it to start with. So next up, I wanted to talk about some of the common ways of getting caught, because a lot of people don't quite understand that the difference between editing a video, making it unique. And there's always this view that you can just do something quite simple to make something unique. And the way Facebook look at it, that's not the case. So examples that you would see often are embedding a watermark over the top of a video, or just adding a logo or something like that, maybe a pop-in title. You might add some clever subtitles to try and enhance the video and just describe what's going on. They are things that probably won't get you away from limited originality of content. So if you're doing that, I wouldn't say that kind of editing is going to help you. It's nice to put in a video and give it some context, but again, you're not changing the original purpose of the video, so you could often get caught for that. They talk about aggregating as well. So, taking 6 clips and merging them together in snippets and chopping them around probably won't get you away from limited originality of content either. And that's because, again, all you're doing is you're taking lots of clips, creating a compilation video, making it tricky. You're not giving it a new context. You're just saying, here's some clips of videos that I've seen before, I'm going to repost them. Facebook's system will eventually detect that, and you might get away with it for a while. I think there's no date when they will catch you if you're violating their policy. It will just happen one day, and it will be an unwanted surprise, and you'll find it very difficult to get your monetization back, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And of course, if you just literally take a video from somewhere else that's already on Facebook, so if another page has already posted a video and you take that same video and post it on your channel, even for large chunks of that, whether you take 3 minutes out in the middle or 5 minutes, Facebook's system is clever and it can very quickly detect that. I've actually had Facebook pages, some old ones that I don't really use anymore, but I've actually tested this out, and literally within 24 hours I got a page back from demonetization because it was a first offense, but I knew I couldn't use that page long term because it had kind of stood the test of time, but it was no longer going to be a viable option due to the kind of the stuff I was putting on it, basically. And it was violated again within 24 hours after uploading a video that I'd just taken from somewhere else to just test that feature out. So it is quick, and it's really quick to get your page kind of demonetized. Within 24 hours. It can take months and sometimes years to get them back, but you can very quickly fall foul of losing your page in 24 hours or even less, and sometimes it takes longer. But that's one of the things I would just be careful of, is just taking video clips that already exist. You need to be able to enhance them in some way in order to make things a bit better. So what I next wanted to talk about is what constitutes an original video. What is unlikely to get caught by Facebook's algorithm? Now, is your video purpose the same as what the original was? So let's say, I don't know, I've got a comedy episode from the TV, and maybe I've got 10 of them, 10 different episodes. Maybe I want to create a compilation to show the best moments of a particular comedian and how they revolutionised comedy and changed the way we laughed forever. That will immediately have a different purpose than just emulating the video there, because it will have a context, and the reason that you'd watch the video is because you want to know about the moments that made you think that that person would change comedy forever, as opposed to taking 10 clips, just putting them back to back in a video, combining them together in some kind of video editing software, and then just sticking them straight up there and saying, here's some clips from a program. It doesn't have any context, and I think there is a personal element to that originality that Facebook take into account, especially when reviewing cases. So don't forget, Facebook's system is automated, so they can take pages off you really quickly, but getting them back is very difficult. They don't have a dedicated team. There isn't somebody monitoring the pages all the time. You do have to ask for dispensation and someone to actually look into it, and you have to have a really good case for it, or hope that their system kind of lets you off effectively, for want of a better phrase. So I think editing your videos well and giving them a different purpose is always something that you should consider. Turning it into a different topic, if the video that you're watching at the end when you've done your editing has a different proposition to the original, even though it might feature a lot of the original video elements in it, then you can probably consider that safe and original. But again, there isn't like a massive science to it. You have to edit things well and do things in a professional way to avoid limited originality of content violations. But there's no guarantee that Facebook still won't see right through what you've done. So you have to take every single case into account. And every case is much like a court case. It is unique and it's based on the evidence and the grounds specifically for that case. There's no hard and fast rule. So don't get caught up in thinking, well, I don't violate that rule. And don't get into the habit also of reading Facebook's terms and conditions and their partner monetization policies and trying to justify every element as to why your video fits that bill, because Facebook will see things in a more grey manner rather than the black and white that's on paper. So it isn't just, X equals Y, that's the rule. There literally is somebody saying, yeah, I still think this is a violation, and you will lose money and revenue from it. So the next part of the video is probably the part that most people are interested in, because it covers, can you come back from a limited originality of content violation? In all honesty, it's quite a tough question to answer, and that's because every case is totally unique. Facebook treat page incidents and violations and community standards violations and anything like that, they treat them on face value pretty much like they would in a court case. So there's no guarantee and right answer for everything. They do list out some steps here that suggests that there are some things you can do if you get flagged for limited originality, and I'll just quickly go through these. So it mentions posting content that your page created. Well, I think that's a given from what we said earlier. And it talks about making meaningful enhancements, so you can use other content provided that you make these more creative by adding editing, voiceover or commentary. Again, they're being quite prescriptive there, and that's quite dangerous because I've seen videos with voiceover and commentary still be demonetized. So there's no hard and fast answer there. That's not an exact science, and I would never treat this as kind of like a black and white gospel. This is exactly what will happen. There's a very grey area to it, and equally adding watermarks doesn't qualify either. So you should review your content on the page. If you feel like you've been violated for limited originality, you should review all of your page's videos to make sure that you know which ones are highly edited and original. And obviously, again, if your video doesn't feel like it's got the same purpose as the original, then chances are it's probably okay. If it feels like the same kind of video, you probably haven't enhanced it enough, really. There is an appeals process, so if you violate and you feel like you've been wrongly violated because their system has perhaps flagged you and you feel like your content is totally original, you can appeal. In my personal opinion, the appeals process is very weak and washy at best. Facebook, if they do come back, often come back with a pretty generic answer of like, yeah, we're not going to remonetize you for whatever reason. But then a week later, you might just find that your page becomes monetized again, randomly. So the appeal process feels like it's semi-automated, but I believe there is a person or persons involved in that. The trouble is we don't know how Facebook operate and what they're really looking for in that, and all the rules and everything in their partner monetization policies and everything are black and white, and actually Facebook operates in a very grey space with regards to that. So you can't just treat the words as gospel, and if you match that exactly, then you won't get demonetized, because you probably still will at some point. So it's a little bit frustrating. So apart from filing an appeal, the other method is what I like to think of doing is tidying up a page. So clear down all your old content. If you're not sure about it, the chances are it could possibly be flagged for limited originality. So make sure you remove that content. Go into Creator Studio, delete it, make sure there's no traces of it. Don't just expire videos. Make sure you remove the fact that you ever uploaded a video to that, so that it doesn't appear on the page or in your Creator Studio area, even as a draft or anything else. It's worth just getting rid of it entirely. And then I would say, oddly, is keep posting videos, because that's how Facebook now scans to see whether you're newly compliant. So if you remove offending videos and you start posting videos again a couple of times a week maybe, depending on your page, provided that they are now original, Facebook may turn your monetization back on, which is quite a useful thing. Equally, they might not. And this is probably a little bit down to how many times you've offended. So I've tested this myself. I've had a page which has been violated the same policy for limited originality of content multiple times from back in the day when Facebook's platform rules were just changing and they weren't really documented yet. And I found that some of the pages would come back, but once they'd kind of been demonetized 3 or more times, then they would never come back. And I've got pages now that will sit there forever with that red flag on them that says limited originality of content. your page copies other pages, you can't ever have it back for monetization. It's not to say you can't use that, and I talk about that in one of my other videos. You can still use your audience, but it feels like a big part of your earnings for that page will now be lost. Pages can come and go so fast with limited originality of content. What I would say is just be squeaky clean with your content, be ethical in producing it, and make sure your content is original so that you don't fall foul of any of those violations and lose money and lots of effort as a result. So the final part of this video is just about what advice I would give to a newbie or anybody considering getting into the Facebook in-stream ad space, because it is a bit of a minefield at the moment. Can be quite confusing if you're not familiar with it and you haven't experienced it from day one. So it's an interesting space. What I would definitely say is please get into it, because it is so much less saturated as a market than YouTube. It comes with its challenges, but equally YouTube has the same challenges in terms of copyright of content and effectively their own version of limited originality, which is coming soon, and talks about, you know, when you try to monetize your page, they will reject you if they look at your content and see that it is wholly just ripped off from other places. So they can all detect this now. I think that the day and age is gone where you can just upload a video that wasn't yours and get away with it. You could get caught out now quite quickly. And, you know, if you're not caught for limited originality and that kind of thing, you could also be caught for copyright, which is a much more severe penalty because it involves court and millions of dollars depending on who you've offended. So, but I would definitely say if you have a niche page or some idea in your head about creating like an audience and a Facebook group that wants to, I don't know, like the content that you post and actively follows it. Maybe you're an entertainment company and you've created like a new episode or a new comedy series or something like that. Or you do film trailers, or maybe you do reviews with musicians or anything like that. There's loads of different ideas. Then your content could probably be considered wholly original because you'll probably shoot that yourself. You'll have your own cameraman, you'll have your own editing style and your own feel, and it's a very safe place to be in. And you're very unlikely to get demonetized. You'd be very unlucky if you did, unless you actually violated their policies. But again, you'd have much more grounds to appeal those kind of things on if it was original than if it wasn't and it was ripped off from somewhere else. So having a good editing style, and I would say, you know, come in prepared with an idea of the kind of content that you want to be producing. Don't just stand up a page and think later, oh, I'll think about content later, because you might find that your audience won't be tailored to that content, and you could end up with a page with an audience that doesn't really engage with the content because they weren't expecting it, doesn't match their expectations, or you've pulled the rug from underneath them and effectively changed what you post on that page to something totally different. So that's going to wrap up this video on limited originality of content. I hope it's useful for anyone who has suffered with any of this, or for anyone who's just about to get into the Facebook in-stream ad space, because it is a great platform to use and it's very lucrative if you can find the right content and match it with the right audience and grow a Facebook page to a reasonable volume. And just by creating videos, you can be earning revenue. So don't forget to check out my original video, my very first video. I'll put a link in the description below and also in the top corner up there, which demonstrates the kind of earning levels that you can generate if you put a bit of effort into this space. So it's certainly one to stay with. So before I go, thank you for watching the video. Please smash the thumbs up, drop me a comment and let me know about your limited originality of content experiences. And of course, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.